It's not the end that matters, but the journey. Of course, this was eloquently put by none other than Kakarot, more commonly known as Goku, the ultimate mascot of Dragon Ball. Now, in reference to this quote and how it completely encapsulates the surroundings as far as the release of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero that's out now on all platforms as far as PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Microsoft Windows, which is basically PC via Steam, you come to realize that the fans of the legendary anime diving into the game are finding true joy in living out their childhood in a video game that basically lets them revisit a lot of experiences and adventures that they've already encountered when they, of course, watch the anime. So when Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, out now as far as October 11th, 2024, it's going to give a lot of hardcore anime fans, but more importantly, gamers, an experience with beloved characters and storylines that you really can't find in any other anime fighting game. I would bet that Dragon Ball in its series, as far as its video game counterpart is considered, is one of the best iterations from anime to video game land. Because, of course, you had Naruto Shippuden, I believe, and no, I think it was called Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. That was another great crossover as far as getting a reincarnation of an anime in video game format and it being serviceable to its fan base. Why am I saying that? For the simple fact that Dragon Ball has not only gained the hearts of hardcore anime fans, but also in video game land alone. Because in general, when we're looking at it from an analytical perspective, the Steam's global sales chart, the Xbox chart, the PlayStation chart, they all have Dragon Ball in its rightful place as far as being either in the top 5 or ultimately number 1. As currently speaking, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is one of the more popular games in October for the simple fact that it has consistently had around 100,000 concurrent players, peaking around 122,000 as far as its initial release. Now, of course, this is a $70 game, but that's a small price to pay for revisiting some of your favorite storylines in your childhood. Because when it comes to Xbox, when it comes to PlayStation, specifically PlayStation, it's the most played game on the platform right now. So, of course, it's followed by the usuals as far as sports games and Call of Duty. Well, actually, Undisputed and Silent Hill 2, interestingly enough, is in the top 6 as far as top games on PlayStation in the United States. But as far as in totality, Dragon Ball has completely captivated the masses. I mean, sales is not everything, but when Steam put out the numbers as far as pre-orders alone, and it surpassed the titles like Black Myth Wukong, Warhammer, as far as Space Marine 2, it definitely showcased its popularity and, of course, the dedication from anime fans in the way that they've been anticipating this game, not only in word of mouth, but also following that up with action as far as taking over the month of October, when in all actuality, the dominator of video game sales, in referring to Call of Duty, seems to be on the back burner because, of course, Black Ops 6 is pre-ordered ready right now for you to pre-order, but everybody is talking about Dragon Ball. So when it comes to that sales perspective, it has been an underdog for the sales landscape, but it has climbed to the top and it doesn't seem like it's falling off anytime soon. So to bring it back full circle, it's not the end that matters, but the journey, as we've seen. But with that being said, of course, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has released on all platforms, PlayStation, well, not all. Of course, for the people still playing on retro consoles, in reference to PS4 and Xbox One, best believe me, this game will not run on that. But the platforms it will run on is, of course, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC via Steam, right? So another thing I wanted to get into was just how it was, or it had, early access as far as October 8th, but that was only available for people who pre-ordered the game either digitally, and they got either the Deluxe Ultimate or Sound Ultimate Edition. I know a lot of people through Amazon got the physical pre-order, only to find out that for some reason, when it comes to pre-ordering popular games through Amazon, it just ends up missing. Now, don't tell me or don't ask me how that happens. Let's just say it was just a coincidence, right? A popular release, you're trying to order it through Amazon, the physical copy, mind you, because game preservation is at an all-time low. So maybe you want a Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, because honestly, speaking to people in this community, it seems like this type of video game won't be able to be as substantial for the foreseeable future, for the simple fact that they had a lot of new storylines to incorporate into this specific game. And then when you had the guy who was the narrator at the very end of every single episode of Dragon Ball, as far as I totally blanked on his name. Hold on, let me see if I could find. I think I could find it. As far as there was a specific guy. Yeah, okay. Doc Harris, the English narrator for Dragon Ball Z, the person who was always like, find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Obviously, he did it way better. But that was the guy who passed away. So, RIP to him. And it's just such a interesting timing, because when this game came out, obviously a day before is when the news started to break as far as him passing away. So, of course, we don't know if he passed away on that day, but just it even being close to that time of this release is insane. And then, of course, some of the new incorporations as far as the newer storylines when it comes to Dragon Ball is now all in one package as far as Sparking Zero, whereas in the past it may have left out some of the newer storylines as far as Dragon Ball is considered. Now, obviously, I don't really watch Dragon Ball like that, but I can say that from the anticipation, from what I've heard, this is the perfect video game for Dragon Ball fans, and not only Dragon Ball fans, but people who enjoy the arena fighter genre, right? Because as far as playable characters, I mean, this game is packed full with playable characters, especially at launch, which is insane, as the overall number is 181 characters in the from the Dragon Ball franchises in this game on at launch, which is very commendable, with every single fighting game having characters as DLC as far as in the future, which Dragon Ball does have. But to launch with 181 characters is something that should be applauded and should ultimately be highlighted when it comes to a lot of corporations shortchanging their player base for the simple fact that they want them to pay for stuff that should have already been in the game, right? So with that being said, let's get into the dicey subject of the DLC. So basically, there's Summon Sharon. I don't know how you say that, but there's 3 packs of there's 3 days of early access that you can receive if you get the deluxe edition, and that is for the DLC, of course. And then another thing you get with the deluxe edition, which is $99, mind you, is the season pass. So if you pay for the one up, as far as there's the standard edition for $70. There's the deluxe edition for $100. If you get the deluxe edition, it includes the season pass with 3 packs of content with 20 playable characters. The bonus Summon Shenron, I don't even know how you said it. I think it's Shenron. And 3 days early access to DLC. And then, of course, the Ultimate Edition, which is $109, comes with everything from the deluxe and standard, plus an Ultimate upgrade pack, and then a Summon Super Shenron. Now, I don't know what in the world a Shenron is, but I know anime connoisseurs are probably screaming at their screens right now what that means. But let's just say, as somebody who's not as in tune, I have no idea what that means. So anyways, you may be wondering, when are these specific early access dates available? Well, it just passed. So by the time you're hearing this, it was already up. If you didn't already know about it, then hey, at this point, just forget about it. As the game is out now for everybody, for the whole entire public, early access and general public. Yeah, basically early access is already passed. So now it's out now for everybody. So anyways, I want to get into some reviews because, of course, I like to go over sales. I like to go over the the review roundup because I like to get a consensus of what people feel about this specific game. Now, besides the Vegeta monkey fight, which we're going to get to in a second, and I'm pretty sure the monkey has a name and people are probably screaming it right now, but hey, like I keep saying, I don't know these specific names and I'm not all into Dragon Ball like that. But anyways, of course, this game that was developed by Spike Chunsoft. I think that's how you say it. Let me make sure. Yeah, so this game is, I think I found it and then I completely lost it. Isn't that great? That is fantastic. Okay, so Spike Chunsoft is the development studio, and basically they worked on this game, but they also have a lot of other accomplishments under their belts as far as working on popular franchises like Danganronpa. What in the world is that? And Makai Kingdom. So anyways, those are some of the other notable games it's worked on, but it's brought its expertise, of course, to the gameplay mechanics of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And the timeline of this game, as far as the development cycle, is over 5 years, as noted by the producer, John Ferutani. Hopefully I said that right. And the basis of Spike Chunsoft, as far as developing this game, under Bandai Namco, of course, because that's the publisher. I mean, as far as anime games, I think Bandai Namco basically has most of the games under their belt as far as when it comes to publishing. So the emphasis in the development years, that was over 5 years, but from Spike Chunsoft, was basically emphasizing the need to refine the fighting mechanics while also introducing new elements like the cost-based character selection for a balance in team battles. Now, I have seen this. I've been watching people play the game, and apparently there's a system, right? Because if you were to go into a team battle, of course, everybody would just pick the ultimate Super Saiyan versions of every single character and put them all on one team. So now, when you have to balance out your allotment of, I forget what it's called, but there's like coins that you have to purchase, that you have to use to purchase your team. And of course, the different tiers are for the more powerful characters and the lesser powerful characters, of course, so it can balance out. So just think of it like as all of the memes and Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok memes where they have a chart where it's like, oh, who would you spend your $15 on to build your ultimate team? And like some people are like in the $5 tier, some people are in the $4 tier, $3 tier, $2 tier, $1 tier, etc. Right? So that's basically how Dragon Ball has innovated on the team battle sense, well, in the team battle sense, as far as having cost-based character selection, which helps out, especially when you're trying to get into that competitive play field as far as esports is considered. So with that being said, of course, some of the other game features and innovation that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero introduces, along with the balancing system with the cost-based character selection, they also have systems to ensure competitive fairness in online matches, that goes back to the cost base. And then also, they just really are showcasing how they want to cater to both casual and competitive players. Because, of course, you could turn it off if you just want to have, Super Saiyan teams versus Super Saiyan team, right? But as far as the competitive landscape, you need the checks and balances so nobody just gets straight blue Vegetas or was it Majin Buu Vegeta? I forget what it's called. But anyways, the ultimate power form of these characters and have them all on one team. Meanwhile, you fighting with the like kid character or the kid forms of the popular characters, right? There needs to be a balancing system, but if you want to turn it off, of course you can. So as far as marketing this game, from a marketing standpoint, this is top tier as far as portraying a game appealing to your core fan base, but also appealing to the masses as far as people who was ultimately not even thinking about this game, but now are going to play it for the simple fact that they see that a lot of issues when it came to Dragon Ball video games have been addressed, but not even addressed. Some of the animations in this video game is probably top tier. It's probably the best we've ever seen in video game land, especially in the unique art style that they're using. Still having certain animations in a video game is still impressive. I don't care how you slice it. Like Sparking Zero has some of the best graphics I've ever seen in a video game. And of course, that changes with time. But as far as right now, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has undoubtedly one of the best looking games of 2024. So anyways, when it comes to that, of course, comparing it to other games would be a little disingenuous because this is a fighting game at the end of the day. So there's going to be repetitive gameplay mechanics for the simple fact that it's a fighting game. So with it being an arena fighter, with it being in the Dragon Ball universe, the way that they make it stand out as far as the runtime is definitely the story. As when you play through the story, you can play through Goku's story, you can play through other characters, you can play through other characters' story, and then also it just reflects the overall story building that's been happening for quite some time. That's ultimately packed into one package. That's Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So, anyways, enough of the sales talk. Let's get into some of the ratings because, of course, when it first came out and reached platforms like Steam, it had 94% as far as a positive rating. And then across various sites, it averaged 84 to 85 out of 100. Some of the more specific reviews, of course, IGN gave this a 7.5 out of 10, praising it for its nostalgia-like appeal and faithful recreation of Dragon Ball fighting fantasy, but noted issues with responsiveness and complex menus. Games Radar gave this game a 7 out of 10, calling it the pinnacle of fan service, but pointed out that the simple enemy AI and repetitive mechanics detract from its depth. Also, GameSpot gave this a 7 out of 10, so it's a pretty much a 7 to 6 out of 10 when I'm looking at the actual and detailed reviews from different publications. So as far as PC and Metacritic, it seemed like those are the highest ones. But, Metacritic fluctuates, so it may have went down a little bit. But anyways, GameSpot gave it a 7 out of 10, saying that they commend the game for its vibrant visuals and extensive character roster, but mentioned that the repetitive combat can become tiresome over time. So, of course, with every fighting game, that's going to be a complaint. But more specifically, with Dragon Ball being a arena fighter, it's going to find itself having more of those complaints for the simple fact that arena fighters is hard to translate into the competitive field. I don't know what it is about the mechanics of an arena fighter versus like a 2D or a 3D fighter, but it's just completely different as far as in the competitive landscape because people find loopholes that probably shouldn't even exist, and it's hard to patch out because of it being in a arena-like setting. So, anyways, with that being said, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero definitely has DLC on the way, and if you get the deluxe edition, or even the ultimate, if you get anything above the standard edition, you will have early access to the upcoming DLC. There was something else I was wanting to get into. Oh, okay. So basically, everybody has been getting whooped by the Vegeta monkey, right? Remember when I said that earlier in this segment? So I did my due diligence as a true journalist to find y'all a video to help y'all out with that monkey, right? So with that being said, there's a video that I wanted to show y'all because when this crossed my timeline, especially with me watching everybody just completely struggle against this boss, it made me think of this video, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to show this during my review. And now, here it is. So, Analytic Dreamz video on Spotify to see the video along with the audio. But let's get into how to beat the Great Ape Vegeta.
Is a giant ape bullying you? Is that big monkey keeping you down? If you, like many people, are having a hard time overcoming the oversized ape Vegeta in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, it might be time for a change in tactics. Fortunately, your pals at IGN know just the strategy to put that behemoth of a primate flat on his back in this guide on how to beat Great Ape Vegeta. As you progress through Goku's story in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, one of the early stiff tests is a fight against the Saiyan Vegeta once he's transformed into a colossal great ape. The first step to winning this fight is staying alive. To do that, you need to resist the urge to charge in with your fists flying. The giant space monkey hits much, much harder than you. He's too big to flinch to most of your attacks, and will punch right through you if given the chance. Rely on keeping your distance, and using hit-and-run tactics. Ranged attacks are your friend in this fight, specifically your Kamehameha attack, but you need to time your attacks properly. Stay out of arm's reach, but not too far away, flying in a circle and using the quick dash to avoid most incoming attacks. It can also be helpful to change elevation. Your goal is to bait him into firing and missing with a beam attack. Dodge until you're sure you're clear of incoming damage, then counter with a blast of your own.
Every ounce of my energy!
Vegeta will be a sitting duck for your return fire. This will do solid damage and knock the big guy off his feet, giving you an opportunity to charge your ki for another attack. Once you have at least one stack in your skill count, you can fully charge your ki to go into sparking mode. Now is the time to press the attack, as the added power from this form will cause Great Ape Vegeta to actually flinch, allowing you to potentially land a long combo. String out a full barrage of normal attacks until your opponent falls over. As soon as he does, finish with a Kamehameha wave, then immediately start charging again. If you have more points in your skill count, you can try to charge back up to sparking right away, otherwise, start circling again, and look for another counterattack window. If you can manage your ki, keep up these hit and run tactics, and avoid the urge to stand toe-to-toe unless you're in sparking mode, then you should be in great shape to send that great ape to an early grave. Or at least advance to the next chapter.
Alright, so with that being said, hopefully none of my Notorious Mass Effect listeners run into the same problem that everybody else has been running into as far as getting sent to you know what by the great ape Vegeta. Because of course, I don't know why that specific boss has been giving people so much trouble, because I've seen people just run through the boss. I've seen other people struggle, but I just wanted to play that just in case, just so you know that that is something of a obstacle as far as your first skill check in Dragon Ball. So anyways, of course, when it comes to Dragon Ball video games, they've been putting it out since 2007. I mean, I believe the first one was Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. No, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi. Actually, yeah. Okay, so October 6, 2005 is when the first Dragon Ball video game came out. No, that's completely wrong. November 2nd, 2002 is when the first Dragon Ball came out, which was Dragon Ball Z Budokai. Okay, now that makes sense. And then, of course, they've been putting out a plethora of titles all the way up to now, right? As far as the top-selling Dragon Ball video games, you have the Dragon Ball Xenoverse series that sold over 14 million copies between 2015 and 2021. You have Dragon Ball Fighters Z, which that was, well, I think it's just Dragon Ball Fighters. But anyways, that was one of the more pivotal games when it came to the Dragon Ball video game crossing over into competitive play because of the checks and balances that Dragon Ball Fighters has. So that was one of the more notable fighting games from this video game, from the Dragon Ball franchise. And then, of course, that sold over 8 million units. And then you have Dragon Ball Z Kakarot that sold over 4.5 million units. And then you had Dragon Ball Z Budokai series that combined for over 10 million units. And then you had Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi series that combined for sales over 7 million units. Now, in totality, Dragon Ball is nothing to be messed with. I mean, it's a video game franchise in its complete discography in the video game field. It sold over 70 million units worldwide, making it one of the best-selling licensed games franchises ever. Like, as far as it making the top tier, as far as in captivating the masses, it's emphatically one of the best-selling licensed game franchises. And of course, across just the IP in general, it's grossed over 10 billion in revenue as of March 2024. So when it comes to Dragon Ball Sparking Zero coming out in October, and the last game that they've released, I believe, was Dragon Ball Fighters. That was January 26, 2018. Yeah, I believe that was the latest game they put out. You can see how people were clamoring for a new arena fighter because, of course, Dragon Ball Fighters was more of a 2D fighting game. It was more of a Marvel Capcom style in the Dragon Ball universe, right? So anyways, to bring it full circle, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is out now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PC via Steam, released October 11th, 2024, or if you're one of the lucky few who was able to play October 8th, 2024, as far as the early access is considered. Just remember that this game was developed by Spike Chunsoft and published by Bandai Namco, and this is just emphatically one of the best returns. It's one of the best returns as far as a Dragon Ball video game coming to just serve its fan base once again. But it seems like this video game has outlasted the overall hype and surpassed it even more, because what the hype was for this game, I don't know how but somehow they managed to even surpass that. So ultimately, I just wanted to say that it brings me back to the Goku quote, because they've been putting out Dragon Ball video games since 2002. It's not the end that matters, but the journey. So that being said, click my link tree in my bio and let me know on one of my social medias. What do you think about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero? And if you've played the game, who's your favorite character and who would you want to see in the game that's not already available?